Adu. The news is also live on Kesme 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. This afternoon, raging debate as to whether there is a state-sponsored attempt to shield former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Abena-Dapaah, or the special prosecutor simply did a poor job. Also, Supreme Court says first and second ladies are not bound to provide any public services. We have details as the Apex Court releases its full judgment in the spousal salaries case. And much later, looted royal artifacts from the Asante Kingdom go on display for public viewing. Some 150 years after the British colonial soldiers took them away as war booty. We are live in Kumasi. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, there are questions regarding whether there is a state-sponsored attempt to shield former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Abena-Dapaah, or maybe the special prosecutor simply did a poor job. These concerns come in the wake of the Attorney General effectively asking the Economic and Organised Crime Office not to investigate the seized cash saga, since the referral to it by the Office of the Special Prosecutor is without basis. As you may recall, the OSP announced its investigations so far point to possible money laundering, an offence his office lacks the mandate to investigate and prosecute.
By operation of law, the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, has a specific and direct mandate in respect of suspected cases of money laundering and its attendant activity of structuring. Of the Special Prosecutor is referring the case to EOCO for continued investigation and further action. The office will be in close collaboration with EOCO and continued collaboration with the FBI. A little over an hour ago, the office discontinued its application that was pending before the High Court for a confirmation of the seizure and freezing orders in pursuance of the referral of the case to EOCO. The court ordered that the office should return the cash sums and defreeze the accounts of an investment of Ms. Dapaah within 72 hours. The office also discontinued the procedural criminal charge against Ms. Dapaah for failure to return forms on declaration of property and income, since that was mounted on the original application for confirmation of the seizure and freezing orders, which was discontinued earlier in time.
And that was the Special Prosecutor, Kisia Jabing, at that press conference earlier. Well, EOCO subsequently sought legal advice from the Office of the Attorney General on the matter. The Attorney General's office, in a letter dated April 25, 2024, and copied to EOCO, advised against initiating money laundering investigations into the dealings of former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapaah. The Office of the AG said that it found that the OSP did not submit the report on its collaborative investigation to EOCO. Now, according to the AG's office, the docket presented to EOCO only contains the OSP's letter transmitting the docket, the diary of action, statements taken during the investigation, and letters written by the OSP to other institutions like the Criminal Investigation Department of the Ghana Police Service and banks for inquiries. The Attorney General's office also revealed that further analysis of the docket by the OSP did not find any evidence of corruption or corruption-related offences against Cecilia Dapaah. Let's bounce this off a legal practitioner, and I'm joined by Vitus Bang. He is a private legal practitioner. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Beatrice, and good afternoon to your cherished listeners.
You have read through the AG's advice to the EOCO. Do you share in the views offered in there?
All right, thank you for the opportunity. Yes, I have read the AG's advice to EOCO, and I respect the decision. I mean, very senior colleague, the Chief State Attorney, Evelyn D. Colson. She's the one who rendered the opinion. I'm inclined to believe that If I were probably in their shoes, I probably would have taken a further step. For instance, the Attorney General says that the Office of the Special Prosecutor did not submit the report of its findings against Madam Cecilia Dapa and the husband. So I would have thought that as institutions of state that have to work in collaboration with each other, the Office of the Attorney General probably would have followed up with a request by the IOCO to the Office of the Special Prosecutor requesting for further and better particulars, requesting for the report of the OSP following their investigations into the case. I did not see that. Then I see that the Attorney General proceeded to give an advice based on the fact that the documents that the Attorney General examined did not basically establish any criminality against the former Minister of State and her husband. So I would have wished that the Attorney General went further to request for further and better particulars from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, request for the report, which they did not submit, so that could help them to know what advice to give. Because the consequence of this advice can be dire to the state, because Madam Cecilia Dapa could easily mount an action for, let's say, malicious prosecution against the state, and this could be a subject of a huge judgment debt, and use the Attorney General's advice to IOCO as the basis of the fact that there was no reasonable or probable cause for her prosecution, and this could, cost us a lot of millions of cedis. So I would have thought that the Attorney General would have taken a further step of requesting for further and better particulars from the OSP before giving this advice, which will, in effect, be a shield and a sword for Madam Cecilia Dapa, who can later claim judgment debt for basically malicious prosecution.
So I hear you say two things. You mentioned that you believe that there could have been further steps taken instead of just saying don't go ahead and investigate any money laundering case, as it were. And then you talk about the consequence because of this. There are some skeptics or critics who are interpreting this as an attempt to shield Cecilia Dapa. Some believe that we should have known from the word go that this wasn't going to go anywhere anyway.
Yeah, yes. Unfortunately, the public has a perception which cannot be easily erased. It is said that justice must not just be done, but justice must manifestly be seen to be done. But in saying this, I must also admit that the Attorney General did not say that no investigation should be conducted by any organ or institution of state. It specifically says that IOCO, hold on, don't proceed with any investigations on this matter. We have, the Attorney General has already written a letter to the police, Ghana Police Service, to the CID department to basically institute or conduct some investigations in this matter. So we are more or less counting on the police to conduct further investigations. So IOCO, you hold on. So one may say, in fairness to the Attorney General, that is not a positive statement that Cecilia Dapa should be left off the hook. But my little difficulty is that given that the Attorney General is the main person with prosecutorial powers given under our Constitution, I would have thought that there would have been some more collaboration between the Attorney General's office, IOCO, and then the Office of the Special Prosecutor, request for specific documents that the OSP based on to believe that there were issues of money laundering. Otherwise, I think that the advice is okay, but I would have thought that they should have gone further to have some more institutional collaboration, other than just saying that, okay, OSP did not give a report, and therefore what we have to rely on, based on that, there's no criminality and no basis for basically saying that there were offenses of money laundering in this case. However, the Attorney General also recognizes that the states, if they are going after Madam Cecilia Dapa on a charge of money laundering, they will need to prove their case beyond reasonable doubt. It's a game of evidence. And then the Attorney General says in the advice that, there's a portion of the law that says that, okay, if you find that there's some suspicious money that cannot be accounted for, that could be the basis of money laundering investigations. But the OSC says that the AG says that provision in the law can only kick in and the person will be asked to explain the source of the wealth if there's already an ongoing criminal, prosecution for some other specified offenses. So that is where the difficulty is. The Attorney General cannot simply say that, Madam Cecilia Dapa, show us the source of your money. So there has to be some other prosecution ongoing before that provision in Section 55(2) of the Money Laundering Act can kick in.
Let me ask you briefly before you go, would you say that the OSP indeed did not do a good job like people said?
I'm afraid I cannot say so because I don't have the full report and also the basis for which the OSP believe that there could be some suspicions of money laundering. If I had that, I probably would be able to speak to it. But I believe that the OSP being a lawyer of high repute, I believe that there would have been some basis for them to suspect that there were some issues of money laundering.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, private legal practitioner Vitus Ban. Thank you for sharing your views with us. You're also joined by co-chair Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Adam Senanu. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What implications, if any, will the AG's advice to Yoko regarding this advice, as it were, or issue be? We've just heard from a lawyer who thinks that Cecilia Dapa could just go to court against the state just based on this advice alone to Yoko. What are your own views?
Yoko had no business going to the AGs for any advice. The law that governs Yoko empowers and mandates Yoko to investigate matters of such a nature. It is only if they are getting to prosecution and they need advice, they go to the AGs. And the request that was made to them by the OSP was an investigative request. So they should not shirk their responsibility. Not just that, but Section 1(3) of the anti-money laundering law, which is their responsibility, clearly states that if an individual has property or income that is disproportionate with their known income, they should have been, and they cannot explain it, they should be considered as having committed a crime under our law. That is sufficient for them to already have acted based on the witness statements they have been provided with from the OSP. So we don't understand what they think they are up to. And it's really unfortunate that we find ourselves in a situation where when the Yoko knows its own responsibility, it's checking its responsibility, goes to AGs, I don't know for what kind of advice, when their law, Section 1(3), is clear on what they should do. Extremely dissatisfactory.
So Yoko has failed. That's what you're essentially saying.
Absolutely. Yoko has failed. Taking so much time and coming back to tell us that they went to the AGs. When you are set up as an investigative body and you've been given more than the minimum threshold of information required to investigate, the witness statements they have, 25 witness statements from Ghana and outside Ghana that provide a clear trail because somebody has money that she cannot explain. And the law is clear in Section 1(3) that anyone with assets or monies that is disproportionate to their income and cannot explain it should be considered as having committed a crime under our law. What is Yoko saying?
Do I also get the understanding that the AG's advice, you so much disagree with it, he shouldn't have even gone ahead to do that?
He should not even have gone ahead to do that. He should not have gone to do that. AG should not have provided any advice on this issue because Yoko is set up under the law to investigate and prosecute. It's when it gets to prosecution and they need assistance, they can fall on the AGs for that. This was a simple request, so to speak, from a whistleblower saying, look, we have information that indicates that there is somebody with sums of money far above what she could have earned as a public servant. And the investigations we have done in Ghana and outside Ghana provide witness statements where it is clear that there is something untoward going on. We are providing you with these witness statements, and we are expecting that please go ahead and do your investigations and draw a conclusion, because the law that covers this is the law that you are responsible for. So you haven't done the work, and then you come and say you went to AGs for advice. Advice on what?
Does this give credence to the fact or the argument out there that we like to talk about dealing with corruption, but we really don't want to deal with it?
Evidently so. I mean, we are stunned that so late in the day, Yoko will come back with such a feeble response. And the AGs is, I don't know what to say, collaborating to suggest that, yes, OSP didn't provide them. Look, if OSP were to give the details of the nature of the witness statements provided, all and sundry will have no doubt that there's something up, something going on. And already the information that's available suggests that, yes, there has not been an explanation for the huge sums of hundreds of thousands of dollars that this lady had in her custody. She's not been able to explain it.
Obviously, CSOs you are not happy about this. What do CSOs intend to do about this?
Well, as a first step, our umbrella organization is going to seek an engagement. Let's find out whether they can provide some clarity on how they ended up with saying we had to go and ask for advice from the AGs. This is just trying to be diplomatic, but clearly in our minds, based on the law that they are supposed to execute, Yoko has failed.
We'll end it here. Thank you very much, Adam Senanu, co-chair, Citizens Movement Against Corruption. To the Ashanti region now, where looted royal artifacts from the Asante Kingdom have been put on display for public viewing at the Menchia Museum in Kumasi. This would come 150 years after the British took them. The 32 items, including a ceremonial cap decorated with gold ornament, were received by the Asantehene during the reopening of the museum. The looted by the British Army some 150 years ago, the royal artifacts now sit within the confines of the Menchia Museum. The items will be on loan for an initial 3 years and renewable for another 3 years. Let's listen to the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II speaking at that event.
Spirit is back here, and then everybody should please visit. The Consul sword is there, the Nchemcha is there, everything up there are all being displayed for you to see that, yes, as we said, when they ransacked it, yes, it was true, yes, they are still keeping our artifacts, but we also are happy that they've agreed to return some of these to us for display for our people to see it. Sure. Thank you. Let us accept that today is a day for Ashanti, it's a day for the Black African continent, that the spirit that we bore and share is back with us again.
You heard that Asantehene Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II. Ibrahim Abubakar is following this for us. He joins us live on the line. Ibrahim, tell us more about this event and indeed the artifacts that have been returned.
Well, Beatrice, like we said, officially it's been open for the public to also come and take a glance at it. So today we visited the Menchia Palace Museum, and a number of people keep coming in and out just to, for the first time in 150 years, and see the looted artifact. In fact, for now they've even closed the museum, saying they need to do one or two things before they allow the public to enter. But a number of them have been around waiting for that to happen. It is an exciting moment for many residents in Ashanti region. For most of them, they see it, realizing that the spirit of Asante is back again. But still, concerns of loaning it to the people of Asante has been on the minds of many, hoping that after the 6 years, at least something be done so that we maintain the artifacts here. In fact, we are even told by the negotiator, that's Ivo Ajman, who negotiated for these artifacts to come, that other negotiations are ongoing to bring back more artifacts, because currently we have over 100 in various museums across the country. So they are doing everything possible to make sure that all these artifacts return to its right place.
Ibrahim, let's listen to Ajimadu and we'll come to you briefly to wrap up our conversation.
We're talking to some individual art collectors and also institutions in South Africa that have some of these objects. And we're also talking with a couple of 3 leading museums and galleries in the UK. We've started negotiations, and in next 2 weeks I will be traveling to the UK for us to have the first formal negotiations with them. So it's looking very good.
How many artifacts?
We're talking between the two situations of about 100. All of 1874 and then post-1870.
And you heard there Ivor Ajimandua. He's the chief negotiator that helped return Ghana's golden artifacts to the Asante Kingdom. Earlier you heard our reporter Ibrahim Abubakar bringing us an update from that ceremony. Now, the president representative at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Bernard Okoboy, is this afternoon visiting the Tema General Hospital. This comes some weeks after a baby allegedly died at the facility as a result of the current power crisis. The hospital also holds the site for the government's Agenda 111 project. Health correspondent Emmanuel Samani is with the team and joins us live. Emmanuel, a few weeks ago, a report of power situation at the facility and the generator experiencing some faults. I'm wondering what the situation is like now.
Well, Beatrice, the situation is on a much better scale, if you ask me. But the representative of the president is here to, address some of these concerns, talking about one of the Agenda 111 projects. So he's been speaking as part of his working visit. You recall that a few days ago, he was at the Kolebuti House when he's doing same here today. He's been talking about the Tema Regional Hospital, which is under the Agenda 111 initiative, which seeks to, tackle some of these challenges that the hospital has faced, particularly in the past couple of weeks. I'm talking about that power situation here. But he has not commented on that outage that led to the demise of that baby. However, he's been speaking about certain improvements here for healthcare in collaboration with the Ghana Health Service, making reference to the use of telemedicine and AI, where patients won't have to come all the way to the facilities in person, but could just have a Zoom conversation, if you like, with their health practitioner, so that, the turnaround time for healthcare is cut short and the overall patient care is more holistic, especially with the advent of AI. So these are some of the things that he's been talking about as part of his working visit to the Tema General Hospital.
Has there been any immediate response or reaction from the hospital management?
Well, they also raised concerns. Currently the construction of the Tema Regional Hospital has stalled for a while, but he's come up to say and given promises or indications that latest by the end of the year, construction of that Tema Regional Hospital should commence.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel Samani, reporting live from the Tema General Hospital regarding the visit by the President representative to the Health Ministry. Now, the Supreme Court has ruled that the First and Second Ladies are independent family members who can choose to be of service to the nation. This is contained in the Apex Court's full opinion in the case, which declared payments to the spouses of the First and Second Ladies unconstitutional. The decision, authored by the Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono, says Article 71 office holders must be limited to named offices in the Constitution. Joseph Akable is with our legal affairs desk and joins us with some more. Joseph, first, the court set a number of questions to which it provided answers. The first was, can a person take legal action against the Ntiamwa Bedu Committee report? Tell us more about this.
And so the court answered that question in the negative, saying no. The court answered that question in the negative, saying no, and it explains that what happens is it's already decided cases like the Ghana Bar Association vs. Attorney General, Court vs. Attorney General, amongst others. The point is that the committee simply gives advice, an advice which the president is not directly bound by, but he must seek that advice and rely on that advice to decide on the emoluments to fix. And so the committee makes recommendations for both the executive and the legislature. And so the court says that that advice does not have the force of law, and so its advice cannot be challenged in a court of law.
So the understanding is that Parliament approval for salaries to be paid has been inconsistent with Article 71. That's what the court is saying.
Yes, on that score, the court explains that Article 71 specifically lists the officers who fall within that particular category, and it makes the point that tracing Ghana's constitutional history way back from 1960 to date, the court said it noted that over the years, the lawmakers either increase the number of Article 71 holders or reduce it. So they are adding certain officials, they are taking some out. And so the point that the court makes is that shows clearly that there is an intention to limit it to a certain number of people. And so if the person's name or position is not provided for in that particular provision, you cannot decide or purpose to have them allocated salaries based on the Article 71. And so it holds the view that Parliament's approval of the Intia Ogbodu report, which resulted in payment of salaries to the first and second ladies, is unconstitutional.
And again, the court said that the first and second ladies can choose to serve the nation or not. So did they give any examples of roles these individuals could play whilst their husbands are presidents of the country?
I mean, the Chief Justice, who authored opinion, explains that the first and second lady are simply persons who are married to the president and the vice president. And so she says that does not create any legal duty on them, requiring that they perform public functions. And so if they opt to perform public functions, then it means that if payments have to be made, then it has to be made in accordance with law. And they make the point that various government officials, including the presidency, employ various individuals who provide various services. Unlike those individuals, these are persons who are simply their wives. And so if you want to bring them into the salary structure, it means that it has to be under an identifiable law, because there's no legal duty by virtue of simply being the wife of a president or the wife of the vice president to perform any such public function. So there's no duty imposed on them. If they want to do so and the state wants to compensate them, then the state must find an appropriate law to provide a compensation for them.
It means that the Chief Justice somehow gives some leeway. If you want to do this, then let's have the law to back it.
Absolutely.
Again, you realize that Madam Tokunu took time to go into a lot of other issues as well. We understand that the court also raises concerns about benchmarking emolument of other public officers, even under Article 71. What issues did she raise?
So the issue is that over the years, whenever they are discussing salaries for Article 71 office holders, they tend to pair it with other public officials who are not Article 71 office holders. So more or less trying to see which level we should move that and which level we should move this one, just to ensure that we don't create any imbalance. And the question she asks at the concluding part of her judgment is that a sustainable approach? Are we not risking affecting the bedrock of our democracy if we want to always be comparing the salaries of politicians who are mostly the Article 71 office holders to other public officials who simply perform functions? So, for instance, the judges, they are simply, they fall within their work in there. But more often than not, when the discussion comes around, we hold the discussion broadly, and that raises the question of whether that is not going to affect such key state institutions that are performing independent functions which are not directly connected to the political class.
Indeed, looks like you're going to have some more scrutiny. Thank you very much, Joseph Akable, bringing us details of that detailed judgment from the Supreme Court on whether or not the wife of the president and that of the vice president can receive salaries. Now, the vice president and the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has reiterated the need for land digitalization following the current trend of land guards challenges in the country. His statement comes on the heels of the killing of a military officer in Kaswa in the central region over the land issues. Dr. Bawumia was engaging some religious leaders in the western region as part of his campaign tour of the region.
We haven't really gone as far as we want. One of the areas that we need to really solve is the land digitalization. Where you're going to digitalize the whole process, you should be able to sit down at home and know who really owns this land on your mobile phone.
And you had the Vice President and flag bearer of the governing MPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Apologies for the poor quality of that sound. And that's how we end the news here on 3FM. Our top stories. Raging debate as to whether or not there is a state-sponsored attempt to shield former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Abena-Dapa, or the special prosecutor simply did a poor job. We brought you some analysis. And also, as you just heard there, Supreme Court says first and second ladies are not bound to provide any public services. Brought you details of the Apex Court. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Coming up shortly is Business Daily with Michael Ogbodu. Stay with us.
Gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
Hello there, good afternoon. It's time now for Business Daily. Coming up, Chartered Insurance Institute of Ghana reveals insurance companies pay 4 million cedis in claims daily, describing public perception of non-payment as erroneous.
Insurance companies don't pay claim. And I think part of that stems from the fact that people think insurance is like an investment or a saving, but it is not.
Also, Economist Intelligence Unit forecast oil prices to remain above $80 per barrel. Move expected to trigger inflationary pressures. We'll bring you the details. Plus, Joseph Abuebu Datsi takes over as new chief executive of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation. I am Michael Ogbodu. I'll bring you details of our top stories and more shortly. Please stay. Well, thank you for staying with us. Straight into our top story. The umbrella body of insurance professionals, the Chartered Insurance Institute of Ghana, has rejected public perceptions that insurance companies do not pay claims. President of the institute, Solomon Alate, says insurance companies have paid claims worth 4 million cedis every day to individuals and businesses. However, called for right premium charges to improve compensations for complainants.
I think it's a perception out there that we've all been fighting to clear. The National Insurance Commission, the GIA, IBAC, CIIG, ECOWAS Brown Card, all of us are fighting to make sure that claims are settled and on time. So that is critical. But beyond that, there's also the wrong notion that insurance companies don't pay claim. And I think part of that stems from the fact that people think insurance is like an investment or a saving, but it is not. Insurance, like I've always said, take a very small proportion of your asset, the value of your asset, keep it and use it for other things. Sometimes we invest so that when one or two or a few people have major issues, we are able to take care of them. Have you sat down to consider a car valued at, let's say, 1.2 million Ghana cedis being destroyed through flood or fire or accident? And you check the premium you paid on that car, which is about 5,000 cedis. How many of those 5,000 do insurers have to put together to pay that single claim? You understand?
So that was Solomon Lati. He's the president of the Chartered Insurance Institute of Ghana. Meanwhile, president of the Insurance Brokers Association of Ghana, Shaibu Ali, has justified recent increase in motor insurance tariffs, saying it was long overdue considering the current economic challenges.
It's a necessity because insurance companies pay claims regularly. I'm sure you have heard the comment that every single day insurance pays about 4 million Ghana cedis worth of claims. Yeah. And so if you look at the way the dollar has increased over time, the way inflation has increased, if insurers do not change or increase the price or the premium that they charge for motor vehicles, it will get to a point that most of the insurance companies cannot meet their responsibilities when they come up. So it was a necessity. Fortunately, the consumer public also saw reason, and so there were no issues. So I think things are going on smoothly. But the essence is not to punish the public. The essence is to ensure that the insurance companies are able to invest the premiums to be able to pay the claims when they come up.
That was President of the Insurance Brokers Association of Ghana, Shaibu Ali, speaking. Away from that, the Economist Intelligence Unit is forecasting the oil prices to remain above $80 per barrel until late 2025. This, it said, will lift inflationary pressures in many countries at a time when their currencies are losing ground against the dollar. The following 3 Business News Desk report has the details.
Based on recent data from the International Energy Agency, the global oil market fell into deficit in the first quarter of 2024. EIU says due to this evolving supply-demand dynamic and rising geopolitical pressures, it revised up its oil price forecasts, with dated Brent blend to remain above $80 per barrel until late 2025. This, it says, will lift inflationary pressures in many countries at a time when their currencies are losing ground against the dollar. EIU also projected that oil prices will continue to trade at nearly $90 per barrel for at least the next few months. Besides the market's deficit, higher prices will also be supported by rising tensions in the Middle East as the Israel-Hamas war threatens to widen into a broader regional conflict. The EIU added that it continues to expect U.S. production to increase moderately in 2024 before stabilizing in 2025, but the recent rise in prices is not enough to elicit a stronger supply response. The International Energy Agency still forecasted that global oil demand will hit record highs in 2024 and 2025, adding demand in developed economies will decline, although North America will remain an exception to this trend.
So that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, Joseph Ogbodu has officially taken over as the new Chief Executive of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, JNPC. Mr. Darcy takes over from Opoku Dankwa, whose term of office ended on April 26. Until his appointment, Mr. Darcy was JNPC's Deputy Chief Executive responsible for commerce strategy and business development. Prior to this, he was the corporation's General Manager Commercial from June 2017 to August 2020. Mr. Darcy is an accomplished financial and management executive with over 25 years' experience at various executive and senior management levels in 5 organizations spanning energy, oil and gas, telecommunications, and banking. Well, we move away from that, and the Ghana Revenue Authority is planning to implement a 90-day program to increase revenue collection to fund national development. Commissioner General Julius Siam announced this on the sidelines of the Workers' Day celebration in Accra.
The Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has been tasked to mobilize 146 billion cedis in taxes for 2024. However, the Finance Minister is pushing the authority to collect 170 billion cedis. At a staff gathering to mark this year's Midday celebrations, the GRA boss emphasized the need for a robust 90-day plan to improve revenue collection.
And revenue growth is fundamental to the 90-day plan. Staff welfare is fundamental because, after all, it's our staff who are collecting the revenue. How the citizens of Ghana see GRA, what is the face of GRA that they see? Whether we harass or not, perception is reality. So it's up to us to change that perception. How do we change that perception? It's collaboration, it's tax education, and it's making our citizens feel that we are partners.
She highlighted taxpayer engagement to improve compliance.
My goal to really have a stakeholder engagement. Who are my large taxpayers? How do I engage them? How do I work with the mining industry? How do I work with the Bankers Association? How do I work with telcos? But how do I partner with my large taxpayers? And we have 90 days to actually really leverage that platform.
The GRA Workers Union, through the national chairman, Theophilus Ehun, called for a national tax dialogue to promote and inculcate tax-paying culture in the citizenry.
it could start from the cabinet having the resolve, parliamentarians all having the resolve that it is time for us to raise domestic resources through taxes. I gave an example of incentive package when it has to do with payment of taxes. If you pick a country like South Korea, when they battled with their informal sector, they introduced an incentive package with a VAT, such that when you request for the value-added tax receipt, you are given some form of a rebate. You pick a country like Rwanda, they have also adopted same. If we decouple the incentive package to the payment of taxes, especially for the informal sector, it will be a wild goose chase.
Well, Ebenezer Ajekum Boateng came through with that report, bringing an end to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Ogbodu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe.